Some beer companies are lying to your face. The beer you drink every Friday isn't what you think it is. In this video, I'm breaking down 7 popular beer brands you should stop buying, exposing hidden additives, questionable brewing shortcuts, and practices most drinkers never hear about. Then I'll show you 2 certified alternatives that actually deserve your money. Stick around to the end because I'll also give you a simple checklist you can use in any supermarket or pub to spot quality beer and never get fooled again. Number 1 on our list is Carling, Britain's most consumed lager. Millions of pints every single week, and it's built on deception. Here's what happened. In 2012, Molson Coors secretly reduced Carling's alcohol content from 4% down to 3.7%. Why? To slash their tax bill, because the duty is calculated on the strength of the alcohol. But here's where it gets really ugly. They kept the label showing 4% for years. When HMRC found out, they claimed Molson Coors owed over £50 million in unpaid duty. During the court case, their vice president of tax actually admitted they deliberately didn't update the label to prevent customers from demanding a share of those savings. Think about that. Every pint you bought between 2012 and 2017, you were paying full price for watered-down beer while the company pocketed the difference. But the deception doesn't stop there. Look at what's actually inside a can of Carling. The ingredients include glucose syrup, a cheap fermentable sugar that replaces traditional malt. This is used in bargain lagers to cut costs, but it produces that thin, flavorless body you've probably noticed. It's basically part beer, part corn syrup brew. And here's something that should concern you. Independent testing has detected glyphosate residue in virtually every commercial lager tested. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup weed killer, and it's classified by the World Health Organization as a probable human carcinogen. You're not just drinking weak beer, you're drinking pesticide traces with every sip. The number 2 on this list is Budweiser, the self-proclaimed king of beers. But this king has some dirty secrets. Budweiser contains approximately 30% rice. Anheuser-Busch is actually America's largest rice buyer, and they use it specifically for brewing. Rice produces a lighter body and fewer flavor compounds. It's essentially diluting the beer to cut costs while charging you premium prices. But here's what really matters. In 2007, Greenpeace tests found an unapproved genetically engineered rice strain contaminating the rice at an Anheuser-Busch mill used for Budweiser. The company admitted that experimental GMO rice, which wasn't even approved outside the US, had entered its supply chain. So if you were drinking Budweiser in the mid-2000s, you were likely ingesting trace GMO material without even knowing it. And that beechwood aging they market so heavily. Those beechwood chips are boiled in baking soda before use, which removes all flavor. It's pure marketing theater. The wood does absolutely nothing for taste. It just sounds premium. At number 3, we have Corona Extra. Corona is brewed with corn adjuncts and corn syrup in addition to barley. This means a portion of its fermentable sugar comes from cheap corn, often genetically modified rather than traditional malt. But here's what surprised me. Corona Extra contains propylene glycol, a synthetic stabilizer used to enhance foam and shelf life. Yes, that's the same type of chemical found in antifreeze. While it's a safer variant and small amounts are legally permitted in food, it's hardly an ingredient most drinkers expect in their beer. And that clear bottle, it's iconic for marketing, but terrible for beer quality. Light penetration creates free radicals and degrades the liquid, which is why Corona requires extra preservatives and stabilizers to compensate for that packaging flaw. So if your personal line is, "I want beer to be beer," Corona is a classic example of a beer that's been engineered to survive distribution, look consistent, and sell an image, even if that means a more industrial ingredient profile. Number 4 is Stella Artois. Stella sells itself as premium, but premium is not a label. Premium is ingredients, process, and integrity. Stella in the UK has a history of ABV reductions over time. That matters because it's a common industry tactic. Reduce alcohol slightly to save on duty, then keep the price and positioning the same. And ingredient-wise, Stella's recipe includes maize, meaning corn is used as an adjunct alongside malted barley. Adjuncts like maize are used to lighten flavor and reduce cost. So what you're often paying for with Stella is the image of premium, not necessarily premium brewing choices. At number 6, we have Guinness. For over 250 years, Ireland's most iconic stout had a dirty little secret: fish guts in every pint. Guinness used something called isinglass, a fancy word for fish swim bladder extract, to clarify their beer. It filtered out yeast and solids, making the beer crystal clear. But here's the catch: traces of this fish-derived collagen ended up in your glass. For 2.5 centuries, Guinness wasn't vegetarian-friendly, and most drinkers had absolutely no idea. The label didn't mention it. The official ingredient list? Just water, barley, hops, and yeast. No fish parts in sight. Guinness's parent company, Diageo, quietly admitted they couldn't label it as suitable for vegetarians because of isinglass, but they didn't exactly shout it from the rooftops. The good news? After years of pressure, Guinness finally ditched the fish bladders in 2015. By 2017, all the beer brewed in Dublin was completely vegan. So if you're a vegetarian or just don't fancy fish byproducts in your pint, modern Guinness is safe. But if you drank it before 2016, you were unknowingly swallowing fish guts with every sip. Cheers to transparency. At number 7, we have Newcastle Brown Ale, and the carcinogenic colouring they didn't want you to know about. For nearly 90 years, this iconic British beer wasn't getting its rich brown colour from roasted malts alone. Newcastle was using caramel food colouring, specifically E150C, to achieve that signature look. Sounds harmless, right? Not quite. This caramel colouring can contain a chemical byproduct called 4-methylimidazole, or 4-MEI for short. And here's the kicker: studies found it caused cancer in lab animals. California even listed it as a carcinogen. In 2015, after pressure from consumer groups and media backlash, Heineken, who owns Newcastle, finally dropped the caramel colouring. They claimed the levels were safe, and European regulators agreed. But perception matters. Nobody wants a possibly carcinogenic chemical in their pint, no matter how small the dose. Today's Newcastle uses roasted malts for colour, the way beer should be made. But for 88 years, drinkers were getting a lab additive in every bottle. And here's a bonus warning: glyphosate, the weed killer in Roundup, has been found in major beers like Coors, Miller, and Budweiser. Plus, most aluminum cans are lined with BPA, a hormone-disrupting chemical linked to reproductive issues. Now, I know what you're thinking. If I can't trust these brands, what can I actually drink? Don't worry. I've got you covered with 2 certified alternatives that are transparent about their ingredients, committed to quality, and actually deserve your money. These aren't just better options. They're what beer should be. Safe alternative number 1 is Samuel Smith's. This is Yorkshire's oldest brewery, operating since 1758, and they have an explicit no additives policy that's printed right on their bottles. All their beers are brewed solely from authentic natural ingredients without any chemical additives, raw material adjuncts, artificial sweeteners, colorings, flavorings, or preservatives. They still use traditional Yorkshire Square fermentation in Welsh slate vessels. They've maintained the same yeast strain since 1900. Their water comes from the original 85-foot well. They even deliver beer by Shire horses to local pubs in their area. But here's what really sets them apart. Their organic range is Vegan Society registered. That means third-party verification of every ingredient claim. No pesticides, no synthetic additives, no hidden processing aids like fish bladders. This is what beer looked like before corporations corrupted it with cost-cutting measures and chemical additives. When you drink Samuel Smith's, you're drinking beer the way it was meant to be brewed, using methods that haven't changed in over 260 years. If you want to taste what authentic British brewing is supposed to be, this is it. Safe alternative number 2 is Black Isle Brewery. This Scottish Highlands brewery has been Soil Association certified organic since 2011 and B Corp certified since 2023. Those aren't just marketing badges, they represent serious third-party verification. Soil Association certification means every single ingredient is verified to be free from pesticides, synthetic additives, and GMO contamination. B Corp certification means they've been assessed on their entire social and environmental performance, accountability, and transparency. But here's what really impressed me. Black Isle operates their own 130-acre organic farm that supplies ingredients for their beers. That's complete grain-to-glass transparency. They know exactly where every ingredient comes from because they grow it themselves. Every beer is certified organic and suitable for vegetarians. When a brewery grows its own ingredients and holds B Corp ethical verification, you know exactly what you're drinking. Here's your simple checklist for the next time you're in a supermarket or pub. Check the country of brewing, not the country of brand origin. Look for organic certification logos from the Soil Association or equivalent bodies. Avoid clear bottles since they allow light damage. Compare the ABV against the brand's original strength if you can. And look for the words whole hops rather than hop extract on the ingredients. At the pub, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask whether they use cask ale or keg. Ask when the lines were last cleaned. If staff can't answer basic questions about their beer, that tells you something about the establishment's standards. Which brand on this list surprised you the most? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss content like this.